The premier manufacturer of hypercoasters, Bolliger & Mabillard, better known as B&M, have been making these machines for over 2 decades. Throughout these years, B&M has made 15 of these monstrous creations. They all stand with a range of 200 to 299 feet tall. Some of them, however, are different from the others. 4 out of the 15 feature a unique style of sitting, unofficially known as the staggered seating arrangement. But why were there so little made, and why are we not seeing any more coming? I have a couple of theories that I'm going to share. Let's get into it. The 4 coasters that I'm going to be referring to are Diamondback at Kings Island, Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland, Intimidator at Carowinds, and Shambhala at Port Aventura. What do these coasters have in common? Their train design. These coasters feature the staggered seating. This means that in one car there are 2 rows. The first row sits 2 people right next to each other, and the second row sits 2 people split apart from each other. This results in many differences to the more common 4-across train model. To start out my theories, I'm first going to talk about cost. First of all, the trains end up being longer. The 4-row trains have around 8 rows, seating a total of 32 riders, while the staggered trains have around 16 rows and have the same capacity. This could be one of the main reasons why there are not a lot of these. I'll explain on this as we go through the video. Longer trains are directly related to higher cost. Longer trains mean more materials needed to build and maintain them. For example, replacing the wheels on a regular maintenance would cost a lot more money for a coaster that has double the amount of wheels. This leads to a greater cost of maintaining the coaster. The price tag can also be seen in the longer stations required to comply with the trains. A perfect example of this can be seen at Kings Island, where Diamondback Station is close to double the size of Orion's, which features the 4-across train design from B&M. Before you get on me for it, this is just a relative measurement of station size, which does not depend on how tall the coaster is. This means that it is completely fine to compare a Giga Coaster station with the hypercoasters. Anyways, longer stations also require more building material, which means a higher price. Included in the topic of cost, longer trains require another important safety feature. You could even include stations in this category. I'm talking about block brakes. This is the segment of track that stops the train if the next section is not clear. It basically keeps the ride safe. That being said, it has many components like the brakes, sensors, and wheels. This comes up under cost due to, yet again, the size of the trains. The blocks must be longer than normal in order to hold longer trains. That's just how it goes. It also means that the cost of manufacturing and maintaining these segments are a lot higher. Additionally, hypercoasters by B&M tend to have a lot more block brakes, which makes the cost even higher. For instance, Intimidator at Carowinds has a total of 6 block brakes. Subtract the lift hill and station, which are both considered blocks, and you're left with 4. These include the mid-course brake run, final brake run, transfer track, and the holding brake. This is including the first part of the final brake run, so give or take 1 block since I'm unsure if this section is able to completely stop a train. Now add up the total cost for each one, including the brakes, sensors, and wheels, and then multiply that by however many blocks you counted, either 3 or 4. Either way, you're looking at a whole lot of money. Okay, one last cost factor, and that's storage. Most coasters of this magnitude have a transfer track, which does count as a block brake, that leads to the storage shed for the trains. Now these might not be enclosed, but some can be. For the same reason as the station, the storage buildings have to be larger because the trains are larger. This again increases the cost of building the coaster. The total cost difference between a coaster with staggered trains and without can be seen between Shambhala and Mako. Both coasters have an argument to be the best hypers in the world. Shambhala opened in 2012 and reportedly cost 25 million euros. That translates to about 30.2 million US dollars. Comparing that to Mako, which opened in 2016 and reportedly cost from 15 to 20 million US dollars, that is significantly cheaper at around a $10 million difference. This is most likely the most contributing factor to why parks are not purchasing the staggered train model hypercoasters. Alright, moving away from cost now, I'm going to talk about space. I have previously mentioned stations and storage have to be bigger to accommodate the larger trains. Ironic how everything goes back to those staggered trains, right? This means that more space is required to install a coaster like this. Many parks want to save as much space as possible in order to have room for more additions, or in the case of others, they don't have space to begin with. I know it seems like cost has dominated this video, but I think space has a big influence on this as well. Those are my 2 biggest reasons for why the staggered hypercoaster trains did not blow up. Cost and space. But I do have one other theory. This though is not as strong and could quite honestly just be a coincidence. Out of all the hypercoasters out there, only 4 had staggered seating, and out of those, 3 were made by Cedar Fair parks: Behemoth, Intimidator, and Diamondback. It could be that Cedar Fair was the only company willing to take a chance on this. Maybe the only reason why Port Aventura has a model like this is because Cedar Fair bought one but decided to sell it. Of course, this is just speculation here. Alright, jumping to present day. Where and when could we see another staggered train model of hypercoaster come, if there was ever one to come? Based on past trends and rumors, I have one candidate in mind. California's Great America is a park that has been rumored to get a hypercoaster for many years now. On top of this, it is a Cedar Fair park, which would be the most probable chain to receive a staggered style seating arrangement. Together, I think this is the best prediction. As for time, not 2022, but past next year I think could be a viable option. The main problem with this prediction is space. As I said earlier, the longer trains means more space is needed for station and storage and maintenance sheds. This is a major conflict for California's Great America because they have so little space to work with. There is a way to squeeze in a skinny layout, but the station area would be difficult. In this instance, it would make more sense to go with the shorter, 4-across trains that allow a shorter station. Other than California's Great America, I have one other possibility that I could think of. It's not as strong as before though. I think Dollywood could be a good candidate. In a survey the park sent out a while back, a hypercoaster was on the list. I think a hypercoaster would be a good addition to the park, but will it use the normal or staggered trains? It could go either way, so that's why I say it's possible. They definitely have the space and are willing to spend the money. The company has also worked with B&M in the past, but we will just have to wait and see. And one quick note before I end the video. I actually preferred the staggered model of hypercoasters to the traditional 4-across ones. I think that it can deliver a smoother and more intense ride, especially because those bigger trains allow the coaster to gain more speed. In the end, I think it's worth the extra money to get a better ride experience. Who's with me? Anyways, that's where I'm gonna leave this video off at. So that's what I think happened to the staggered seating style on hypercoasters. What do you think of my theories? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.